StockManor.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your StockManor, Brian Johnson. And I guess it's time to update you guys. Time to do a video. We have had a heck of a push this week. Very, very strong action. Started all actually Sunday night. I'm sitting around looking to play the futures as they're about to open Sunday afternoon, about 6, I guess, Eastern for my time. And I'm getting ready to get in. It's like I remember exactly. My entry was like 11:57, and then I'm watching the bid and the ask about 10 minutes before the markets open. I want to get long. And it's moving up. 11:58, 11:59. Ooh, last ticket 11:60. Wow, geez, it's really going. So I'm moving it up and moving it up. Before long, within 10 minutes, we went from about 11:56 to 11:71, and it is very unusual for the futures to actually gap in such a strong manner, one way or the other, coming into a Sunday evening. A lot of times it opens in or around the same area. You don't get much of a gap on the futures types things. Woo, yeah, not this time. Huge gap. And it ran up all night long, and then it was lather, rinse, repeat. So this up move has been fantastic. Here's the deal. If you haven't already been long, it's really been difficult to get yourself in. So if any of you are sitting at home going, how could I have missed this entire move? I mean, we're up 1,000 points or so in the Dow and 100 in the S&P. Wow, man, I can't believe it. It's leaving me behind. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. Believe me, I haven't got as much of it as I would have wanted to. A lot of us in the trading room were talking about taking TNA long at like 34, 35. We were looking at building a long position in the thing. And of course, looking at it now at 44, I'm just kicking myself because it really would have been a huge payday. But one never knows. You just don't know. And then coming into Friday's trading was a short day, and then you had to wait all weekend long, and then it opened to a gap, and then you can't get in until the market opens. And then what do you do? Do you get in? Do you not get in? We're already up 30 points, and on and on. It's very difficult. So don't fault yourself and don't worry about it. We will get a pullback here in the markets. It's due very soon. So we will get some sort of a pullback here very shortly in the markets. Don't know precisely when that'll happen, but it should be, I would say, within the next few days. If we get caught, even a small pullback, I'm not talking about a major pullback. We might not make it back to 11.6 or 11.7 or something like that, but we should get some sort of a smaller pullback. And any kind of pullback at this point, I really think that we should be looking at long opportunities. I really think we should be looking at building long opportunities. We came and stopped right at this overhead line. This is kind of the theme on almost all of the charts. We got right back up to this overhead resistance, and so we'll see if that's where it eventually ends. Will we get a little bit more to the upside? We were kind of trying to count waves here towards the end of the day, and looked like this might have been a big 3 here. This was a 4. This was working on 5 up. I'm not so sure that we don't finish that in the after hours. So it'll be anybody's guess here, kind of what we get tomorrow morning. A little bit more gap up and then a pullback, or a pullback to start the day with a small gap down. Those are the things I'll be looking for, and you should be too over the next couple days. Now, I wouldn't be necessarily afraid to take a little bit of a short below about 11.9. If we can get back below about 11.9 tomorrow, I'd be looking at that. If you want to trade long back above 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, something like that, I don't know if we'll get that high, but depending on where we end up in the morning, it seems like the overnight has been really, really good to the markets. Point being, if we get up into these areas, that's not a bad long play, but you need to manage it. You really do need to be careful. We're very, very extended here. Doesn't mean obviously we can't. It doesn't mean we can't go a little bit higher. We most certainly will. But you need to be careful. If you're going to take a long position here, you need to be very cautious about managing it once you're in. So go long, just be careful going long. That'll be the motto on any and all indices going forward. All right, moving on to the daily, you can see same type of action. We cleared the 50, the 20, and the 200 daily moving averages in 2 days. Just wiped through them. Very, very strong action here. Good good Christmas type cheer coming into the markets as would be expected. This was kind of what I was looking at for the last umpteen months now, with some sort of a bounce and then a pullback and then a big rush into Christmas. My count is probably different than what some other people have. I have a more bearish count, and some people have a more bullish count from an Elliott wave standpoint. I won't get into this video. I don't really have enough time in this video to get into what those counts are. But shameless plug, they're in my newsletter. I take more time in the newsletter to go over stuff like that. So the newsletter does contain my most recent Elliott wave counts, both bearish and bullish, to give you an idea of what I'm looking at going forward and where your levels are to not only shoot for long or short trades, but also targets and stuff by the time it's all said and done. All right, so anyway, I won't get into it, but point is, straight up, looking very, very strong right here, getting in and above these moving averages. Your next bigger levels are really not till we break 12.3, so you'll want to watch that very carefully. And then we're stuck at 11.2 300. So basically, a 1,000-point range that you have to deal with here, which is almost crazy. Just a huge amount of acreage being eaten up by the bulls in the last 3 days. They've really, really covered a lot of ground. So looking very strong, really preparing strong for that Christmas rally. Once again, looking hard at the pullback. I want a nice, big, strong pullback, and that should really get us set up and launched well into the rest of the Christmas season. NASDAQ on a 60 wasn't quite as strong, 3.79%, so a little bit weaker than what we had seen the rest of the markets, but it'll catch up. It always does. And it's been very, very strong anyway over the last umpteen months. Much higher and much stronger in a chart pattern formation type of a look than the rest of the markets have. NASDAQ typically is. So expect it to start to get some wheels once we really get going. Watch it get some wheels going forward as well. Next levels to really watch hard are 2320 and 2250. Hard for me to find a short here because everything's gapped. It's just really, really hard to get entries when everything gaps like it does. Gap up, move sideways. Gap up, move sideways. You wake up to a new world every single day and you're like, now, well, what do I do now? Very, very difficult. Very difficult. From a daily perspective, though, the NASDAQ coming right back and into these overhead moving averages. I always give, once the bulls take a heavier level of overhead resistance away, I always give the bears a chance to reclaim it, so I will give the bears a good day to kind of get this back below these moving averages. This is strong. One day moving up and through all of these. Whew. This is very reminiscent of what we saw back here. Straight up. Straight up. Any kind of breaks, any kind of rest days, look for them to go sideways. That'll be the key. Any type of consolidation that we get, is it moving back hard or is it moving sideways? Moving sideways is what you want if you're bullish. Always watching for that. From a weekly perspective, we're only 2 days into it. 3 days into it. I won't get into this too much, but keep in mind that we are starting to break up and through these weekly moving averages very, very quickly. It's not taking much time. SPX right back to its overhead level as well. I love it above 1255 or so coming into tomorrow if you guys want to trade it long, but I'm just going to warn you, once again, you need to be very cautious of that trade. Manage it and just stay with it. You don't have to watch it all day long like a hawk, especially if you're allowed to maybe trade at work, or you can get away with it at work, or whatever the case might be. But you're going to want to keep an eye on it. You go to lunch, make sure you take your smartphone with you and keep track of things on Google Finance or however you do it. Just keep an eye on it just to make sure nothing drastic happens. A lot of times when we finish the ends of these waves, like in this case to the upside, the downward pressure comes in very hard and very quickly, and it can catch you off guard if you're not prepared. I don't know if I'm necessarily expecting that tomorrow or even this week, to be quite honest, but when it does happen, you'll want to be prepared for it, because I only do about a video a week for the daily viewers. It's just something you need to make sure you're prepared to handle. Keep your stops in place or whatever it is you got to do. SPX daily, same type of thing, back up and above these moving averages, but not yet into the 200-day moving. That is my bigger area. So any break up and over 1255 to 1265 is your next level to really, really be focused in on, and where and if it'll stop there. 4%, 51 points in a day is huge move. Huge move. The VIX, also a big move, 9%, but we just haven't, we're still in this upper area. I really prefer to have the VIX from a complacency standpoint sitting more down and in this 15 area. A long ways to go to get there. So I would just warn you to be very cautious of this type of the VIX at this present time. Um, Still some elevated concern, if you will, in the markets. Based on what I'm seeing, though, it does look like as we get into the Christmas rush, this thing's going to bleed its way out and should be just fine by the time we get into the middle of December. So I would expect to see it back in the 20-ish range or so by the time that reaches. Weekly looks the same way. The weekly's looking weekly for VIX. Looks like it wants to kind of push its way back down here again. And if you want to Elliott wave it, kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5 type of an action, doesn't really matter. The point is, back into these lower levels is where it appears it wants to go. And I would guess that if we're going to see that, we will see that over the next month as Christmas approaches. Bleed itself back into the 15-20 area. FAS, gap, sideways, gap, and up. So this has worked out very well. So is TNA. TNA did a very nice job. TZA, same type of thing depending on which one you prefer to play. But the FAS, as it is, gap up, move sideways, gap up today, and instead of moving sideways, moved up. So it did give you some very, very nice opportunity to play this thing to the long side. Be watching it now. We are into overhead resistance, but anything back up and above about 63 tomorrow, you know what? Not a bad long. Once again, manage it, but that could be worth some money there. Really like this thing back into the 200-day moving average, as I do a lot of the other things we're looking at, whether it's indices or whatever. I love this thing back into the 200-day moving average eventually, and that's a good $2-3 away. So there's definitely potential to sneak out some profits during the course of a day as we get into these higher levels. When we do reach this, you want to be very careful. Cover part, cover all of your profits, however it is you have your strategy set, but be very, very cautious once we reach the 200 period on these things. Broke above the moving averages, that's why I'm going to give the bears a chance to kind of pull this thing back down, but if it continues or if it opens about break even, or maybe it opens up just a little bit or even down just a little bit, look for that 63 mark. I really do like this thing long above 63 and see if you can't pull a little money out of that before the end of the day. FAZ, on the other hand, back below $40.50 or $39.50 are your next lower levels to be watching very closely. Gap down, very, very difficult. This one played beautifully, though, from the 44 area, as it lend itself to a very, very nice move downwards, obviously leading to what could have been some very nice profits, about $2-3 by the time this was all said and done. So tomorrow it's $40.50 or $39.50 for your next moves to the short side. Looking at it from a daily, you can see it kind of bleeding apart. I really do like this as, I don't know, this is such a mess, but I guess if I wanted to call it anything, I'd call this a wave 3. This would be an ABC wave 4. I'd be looking at this as the middle of a wave 5 down potentially here. That would be my best, just my best guess at this point without really breaking it down. That's where I think I'd put this thing. So there is good potential for this to drop even a little bit further. You know, if we saw a move back up tomorrow, it wouldn't break my heart none. Getting back to the 20-day moving average, that's just a ways away. I'd love to see it maybe start to move up over the next couple days, give us a little bit of a break and an opportunity to reset and reload for either the for the FAS long or the FAZ short, either one. All right, guys, there you go. There's your quick update on where things are at. Everything's right back to overhead resistance. Will it hold? I don't know. It looks like things want to poke a little bit further up into the after hours tonight. We'll see if that changes by the time the morning rolls around. But as it is right now, things still look a little bit more bullish, even in the after hours as we sit and watch. So we'll see how that unfolds as the night rolls on. You guys take it easy. Remember, the newsletter, the subscription newsletter is done every day except for Saturday. So if you get good information out of these videos, you might want to try that. It's $1 a day, basically. $28 a month. It's pretty cheap for all the information I give. It's a 15-20 minute video. I go over all the indices. I do my Elliott wave counts, among all kinds of other things that are within the video itself. Stock picks for the week, entries, exits, targets, the whole bit. And the mentorship, of course, if you really want to make this a full-time job, or if you just want to understand what you're doing because you're frustrated right now and you can't seem to get on the right side of the trade and you're constantly losing money, the mentorship is definitely the next step for you. That's a full in-depth course of really the theory behind trading in and by itself. I always say this, but it's a college level course in trading. It really is. It's really, really a deep level course. And for those of you that have time during the day, the trading room is always open too. You can sign up for that, give that a whirl, and try to make some profits along with us. We trade futures most of the day. I am throwing out stock trades as well, but the futures is where we normally are at. And for those of you that have any interest in that or have done that before, it's a lot of fun. It gets pretty hectic sometimes, but it's a really good way to make a lot of money quick. But it takes some time, takes some effort. It's not easy. It does take some time and effort, but it is good to know. So if you have experience in that and would like to be in a community where you could bounce things off people during the course of the day, the trading room's perfect. It's perfect for that. All right, enough of that. I'll let you guys go, and we'll see you in the next video.